No, no. I love how I'm accidentally doing all the horror and dystopians in a row.
Well,
I noticed that, and I was like, well, oh well. Um, yay. This is a book. This is a book. You ready to talk about book?
I suppose.
Hello, welcome to a Fish and Flower podcast, in which someone does have to make me a graphic for this episode. I just remembered this.
Well, I wanted to wait until after we did it because I don't know what the vibe and fish shit is. I
That's
tend to
true.
make graphics when I don't know vibe.
True. Uh, I am Flower, aka Rose. My fun fact is that I am watching House of the Dragon back from the very beginning, and someone should pray for a fish. The amount of voice messages I send trying to explain what's happening with no context in there. I'm so sorry for your brain. I apologize. I am randomly sending pictures of dragons now. And I'm just saying, Damon's Syraxis, I think that's how you pronounce it, is Noodle Boy, and I love him.
Listen, I would also like everyone to know I have listened to the majority of these voice messages because I'm that dedicated as a friend.
Honestly, I love that for you. I just finished the main incest episode in the very beginning, which is episode 4. If you know, you know.
I know too much.
I know you know too much for a person who doesn't even care. Like, you don't give any cares. I went on to a deep dive and was like looking up the writers of House of the Dragon, and it was a wild time. So, do your intro.
My name's Fish, aka Stingray. I don't even know if that's true anymore. I don't know what's going on. I don't feel like a person. Um, my fun fact is I stayed up till nearly 2 o'clock in the morning making pictures of my OCs last night and almost started sobbing when I did one of Carter because literally, like, I can't see pictures in my head. I only have a vague idea, right. So when I could actually see her, because I made Carter up a bajillion years ago, it was like, oh my god. I didn't send them to you. Let me send them to you. I'm gonna cry.
Okay. Um, this is Stream of Conscious podcast, very similar to how we talk to each other on a daily basis. On today's episode, we have Severance by Ling Ma. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Um, this is probably going to be a short episode because
I feel like you're gonna laugh at it when I
okay,
the picture. It'd be like,
there there
I don't know.
is no plot in this book. Basically, absolutely zero
I
plot.
love that.
This is a very character-based book. I knew about this going into it, where it's basically following the story of Candace, um, before and after, like during, basically, pandemic, epidemic, apocalypse, right? Just trying to live her life. It's like a slice of life thing, trying to live in this apocalypse, right? Um, Dystopian type book. And I liked it fine. Like, I gave it 3 stars. I'm just not a character based person. And the fish is.
Uh huh.
So it's very funny that I'm the one that read it and took notes on it, and the fish did not. I would like to note this book, like the actual pages wise, is like around 250-ish pages, but the audiobook is 10 hours. Like, that's how slow it is.
That don't make no sense to me. But also, remember the other day when we were talking about logistically if I was a fish, because you know
Hmm.
Texas, I would be like a catfish or a bass or something. It's icky.
Alright.
I'd rather be a fish in the ocean.
Um, content warnings obviously start off of I'll go in a second. We have death and pandemic slash epidemic, obviously. I would like to note this was written before COVID-19, which is very funny reading it after COVID-19, how realistic it is with the government reaction and places of work being like, well, we're gonna stay open and we'll pay you hazard pay to stay, right? Um,
Girl.
and she happened to be pregnant at the time, so spoiler. So, she's like, gotta do it. Um, and but also like, because her work is overseas, like communicating with people overseas. Um, in I is it Chinese, Vietnamese? I don't remember. Um, in an Asian country, and so she has to deal with the American people and trying to communicate what they want from I think the Chinese manufacturers and whatnot. Uh, and when because of pandemic, Chinese manufacturers shut down. Um, American people are like, well, that's sad that people are dying, but we need this. We need to have glitter on our book covers. On our Bible covers, we need glitter. So,
That's about right.
yup.
Also,
Uh,
there's a kitty in my bed.
I'm so
We gotta
jealous.
get. Her name's Kiki Brony.
Other content warnings: confinement. That's a big one. Pregnancy. Obviously, I just mentioned that. Suicide, sexual content, death of parent, drug use, and racism. Um, Candace is a first generation American immigrant. I think her family's yeah, she has Chinese immigrant parents. I don't talk much about that aspect, but basically both her parents um moved to America and got their work visas, like were working there for years before they called Candace over and brought Candace over from China. So for years there she was living with I think her grandmother in small town China. Um and whatnot. So, yep. Um, Other thing that I'm going to bring up before I start talking about my notes. Um, this book, this I say this. I don't actually say this in every episode, but it's an unspoken thing that like you should read the book first. Like read the book, obviously.
Yeah.
Read books. Um,
Please.
Especially since I'm not gonna be able to come across with like the full author's intent with every little detail and stuff like that, right? Um, And the thing about this book, that's like to the tenfold because this book switches back and forth, sometimes in the same chapter of her currently living through the pandemic and then the past of like before the pandemic and whatnot. Like we meet the guy who is the father of her baby long before we meet, like learn that she's actually pregnant, right? um we and then we learn how she met him and then we learn how she decided not to tell him that she's pregnant. um and then we like all this stuff, the way that it's done in order, especially with the before stuff, is very interesting, and I would not be able to do that justice. I just labeled it as before and after, and it's two giant fucking paragraphs that is nearly 2 pages long total. um that's how I split it up for telling what happens in this book, right? But just know it's much more intricately done in the book. Um, and it's one of those things where, yeah, I recommend reading the book. If what I say intrigues you, yeah. Um, it's much well, it's much better done than that. Also, vibes with this book, it gives me. I kept on comparing it to Pew, but I think of the two dystopian books that we've read for this podcast, I think it's more they because in the way that they is like um harder to explain, and it's just like people living in this dystopian world. That's what's happening. That's the whole entire plot. Is just people living. So I think it's more they like in that.
I would like to let the class know that I did, in fact, order Pew and the Ghostly Seat. It finally shipped. It's on the way.
I'm so proud. And then the other book it reminds me of is What Bleeding Earth Was Trying to Do, which is another reason why I think the fish would like it. All right.
I'm kind of upset every time I think about Bleeding Earth because it could have been so good. There was so much potential.
I know, right? All right. I took a sip of my Dr Pepper. Let's go. Um. All right. Before stuff. I'm going to do this before stuff before, and then we'll get into everything that's during the pandemic. So, uh, in the before, she started living in New York City after college. Um, she was one of those people, I can't say anything, I'm the same. Who after college doesn't know what to do with her life, right? Uh and I think during her last semester is when her mother died. She had some form of dementia. right? Her mother died. Um, and long before that, her father died and left them a lot of money. And like the very much hardworking immigrant type thing where like saves up all this money to never use and all this stuff. And so now both her parents are dead and she has all this money, so she's just living off of it. Basically running a photography blog for fun. Uh as she just lives. Right? She does have a roommate, but yeah, that's basically uh what she's doing with her life after college. Um she's kind of seeing an older man who's like in his 40s, divorced, right? Who spends his time on TV talking about how millennials are unmotivated to work and therefore just waste their
Oh my
time.
god.
Uh-huh. It's really funny because you learn a lot about her job before you learn that the whole reason why she got that job is because her boss, the head of the company, is his brother and he gave her a referral.
Oh my god.
Um
Boyfriend nepotism.
I know, right? At a dinner party, her roommate he gives her the contact info for his brother, who's hiring at his publishing company, which is a company we know she works at. And she ends up being in charge of Bible production, which is, um, like their biggest income, right? Uh,
Honestly, why
because
are there so many versions of the Bible? Or why are there constantly new versions being printed and stuff? Like, how many versions and editions of the Bible do we need? I think
there's a
that's the
whole
whole.
entire chapter about this, bestie.
Like,
About
okay,
how
like
people will like
consumerism.
see a nice Bible and will be like, "Ooh, another one? Sure, why not?" And so like she was in charge of I think one year making this specific novelty Bible for like teenage girls or preteen girls and
Oh my
whatnot.
gosh, those
Uh-huh. And that was like one of their biggest
their
sales.
Bible
Bibles is
stuff.
always their biggest sales every year. Um, so yeah. She invites the downstairs neighbor, or yeah, I think it's the downstairs. Yeah, to the party.
No, because like, hold on. It's people think it's weird when a reader has multiple copies of like whatever book it is, but it's okay for people to have multiple copies of a Bible. Like me myself, I have two copies of the Bible sitting in my closet. One's a children, and one is like just this really old one.
I have two
That
copies
was
of Pride and
mom's,
Prejudice. I
and they're in
I
the closet for a reason, you know. And I'm just like, there's at least three more in the house that I know of, and we don't even go to church like that.
I know, right? Um,
I haven't been to church since I was like, I don't fucking know.
I feel that. She goes and invites the downstairs neighbor. She like goes out to smoke and he's there and then they start talking. Right, and so she hangs out in his place for a little bit. And then she invites him to the party. Um, we know that his name is Johnny, and we do know one of the first chapters of Before is Johnny breaking up with her.
Oh,
So we know they end up together, right?
oh,
Before any of this. Also, who's at the party? This middle-aged man. I already brought this up. So when Johnny leaves, so she can bang Mr. Middle-aged man, Johnny tells her she's making a mistake and licks her face.
what the?
We're not questioning it. Um,
I'm questioning it.
he is a writer. He's like writing his book, but does a bunch of freelance to like survive until then, right? Um,
We should
we
write our.
we already know they end up dating for a while, and right before the apocalypse, they break up because he's moving away. Um, at one point, after they start banging, because they
Why would you
start
do that?
out a friendship and then they start banging, and we learn, and I quote, Johnny has a Schwarzenegger dick.
What does that mean? Like, I know, like, what that means, but, like, what does that mean? Like, what is that? Like, be normal. Just say he has a big dick. Like, be normal. Like, what is wrong with people?
I know, right? Shortly after they break up, during the process of the breakup, there's also a bunch of thing where the apocalypse is starting with giant power outages, tornadoes hitting in New York City, like stuff like that, right? Um, so
That's crazy.
she quick like I think like 2 days after they break up, she's pregnant. She
Oh,
learns she's
God.
pregnant, and she's like, "Fuck!" And so she is avoiding all his calls since he broke up with her. And so then that weird power outage thing happens, and she has more. amenities at her place, and so he comes to stay at her apartment, right?
Please
Um,
help. Can people just use condoms?
I know, right? And so they're trying, they're staying together despite the fact that they're kind of broken up. And he's like, "Please come away with me. You can leave New York City too. I mean, look at this. Like, we can leave this. It's not safe here. All this stuff." And she's like, "What would I do?" And all this stuff. And he says, photography. And she's like, "I'm not good enough at photography for this. Okay, like I
You
haven't
know,
run my blog in years. All this stuff, right?"
I don't
Um,
understand. So let's leave the city and go away to wherever during the apocalypse. Because if you go somewhere rural, they're not going to trust you, and it's going to be 10 times worse.
yeah, I think he was like going somewhere to the Midwest too. So.
Well,
Um,
might as well kill yourself.
I know, right? And so at one point they're sitting down to lunch and they're having like a whole conversation, and she's all like, "What are you gonna do? What about like health insurance? You know, that's an important thing because she's pregnant." All this stuff. And up until this point, she hasn't thought much about this baby. She's like doesn't know what she's gonna do about the baby. She doesn't know if she's gonna keep it. In her mind, it's not actually an actual baby yet, right? But in this conversation, he basically is all like, "Well, none of that matters because it's not like I'm having kids anytime soon, and who needs to save and all this stuff." And basically being a man child. At which point she's like, "Oh, fuck this bitch. I'm keeping the baby, and he's not knowing about it. This is my baby, right?" Um, and so she doesn't tell him, lets him leave to go to the Midwest, and then the apocalypse happens. Um, she eventually ends up being the only one left at the office. They basically offer a bunch of people the chance to continue working in office uh, for like a bunch of money, right? At the end of a year, like they get a shit ton of money. And Shane signs on for it because again, I think maybe it's 6 months. Maybe it's 6 months. I don't know. Uh, Again, she is pregnant. She's barely pregnant, but she's pregnant. Um, so she signs on to do it, and eventually everyone else just leaves, and it's just her in this office building every fucking day. And it gets to the point where like things are falling apart. She starts doing her photography again. In the future stuff, in the after the apocalypse, when she's talking to a bunch of other people, they talk about her blog, not knowing that's her blog, where she would take photos of the basically zombized people. I will explain it in a
Um,
minute. I'll get to what the actual apocalypse is in a minute. And the rundown city and empty, like the city just completely empty, right? And post it on her blog. And then she started doing this thing where people would be like, "Hey, can you go here and take a picture here?" Some of them like their own apartment, stuff like that. And so she would do that until it started to get unsafe. And so then she basically moved into the office and till she accidentally locks herself out of the building. And she accidentally learns that it's the day that the fucking term thing for that work is over because she has like $100,000 in her bank account. Um, and then that's when we get to the after. That's when it connects the lines. Because she doesn't have
you know,
any of her stuff
I
and
think it's fun
whatnot.
to put stuff out.
She doesn't have any of her stuff and whatnot because she locked herself out of the building, and so she basically steals a taxi. She tries to survive on her own. She
Okay.
eventually runs into a crew, um, and most of this crew know each other from work, right? They take her in, um, and yeah, that's when the start after starts. And we get to talk about Bob, my least favorite character. I'm gonna fucking kill Bob.
Bob.
Bob. Um,
Of course his name's like fucking Bob or something.
he knows
It's like a
where
different
a safe house is, so they are all following him. He becomes a defunct leader because of that, and he is like preaching God every second of the day. Um,
Oh my god.
like they must pray before they eat. They must pray before they go looting. They must pray. Blah blah blah. Right? Immediately I write down the sentence. Gives me cult leader vibes. I was so right. I was so right. Um. Anyways, you may be like, hey, what the hell is this pandemic that caused this apocalypse, right? Basically, it's a sickness that makes you a mindless zombie, pretending to act out everyday acts, but with no actual thoughts, um, and whatnot.
You mean
So
me dissociating every day?
yeah, imagine that, but 24/7. for the rest of your life.
It's been like this for years, so might as well.
Um, the crew assume they're all immune because they haven't come down with it yet, right? Um,
Sure.
they are looting as a group, and Bob has a thing where they shoot any sick they find afterwards, right? Like if they go into a house, any he'll have the men go in first, right, with him, and well after they pray, right? He'll have the men go in first, uh, round up any of the sick into one room, right? And then everyone loots, and they are all in charge of one particular job, right? She tries to hide a sick little girl who has it, and he recognizes this and finds the girl, and so brings her into the room and has Candace shoot the girl,
Oh
and
my
she
god.
yes, but Candace like they shoot them all afterwards. That's a normal thing, but he's having Candace do it because she tried to save this girl, but she's sick, so like you can't save her. We're doing her a good deed, like we're doing her justice, all this stuff. Um, but Candace doesn't fucking know how to shoot a gun, so she's missing constantly.
At
So,
least that's realistic, right?
mhm,
Like, come on, if you never shot a gun before, like someone's forcing you to shoot a gun, you never shot a gun before, you're gonna fuck up.
mhm.
Like, I appreciate that.
So after this show of actually hanging out with the crew and doing good on looting and shooting the little girl, he's like, "Hey, we have something for you," and it's her cell phone. Uh,
Um,
that is from they stole it when they saved her, and she was delirious because of dehydration. Um, they took it,
that's a little rude.
and he's now giving it back to her. But here's the thing: Bob makes a big show of giving it back to her, and it's been like 2 weeks that she's been with this crew. She's about 4.5 months pregnant at this point, right? Um, it's hinted that she's pregnant at this point in the reading. We don't know she's pregnant, right? Um, but anyways, it's been 2 weeks, and he's giving it back to her, and he's like, "We broke it, so you can no longer use it, but it's so that you can have the memory of having your phone. But don't look too much in the past, because if you look too much in the past, you will die and kill us all."
What does that even mean? Like, what?
Uh huh. Anyways, to
What?
quote me, that's not suspicious. That's not weird. Um.
What
Anyways,
do we do? What do we do? Like,
there's a few other members of the crew. One of them's named Ashley. Um. I don't remember the other one's names. Are big into sneaking out every night, and Candace hears them because she can't sleep at night. So she decides to sneak off with them. Uh, at which point they do mini looting for drugs. One of them, not Ashley, but the other girl. There's also a guy. The other girl knows she's pregnant, right? So nobody's like question like they all just think she's stuck up because she's not doing drugs with them. Um. Anyways, they're going on a trip to Ashley's because her
you think
house
people just
is.
don't want to do drugs? Like,
I
I
know,
don't
right?
know.
Ashley's house is nearby, so they're going where she has some weed. And Candace asked to go with. Um, very much giving. They do what Bob orders until they can get to Bob's safe house, and then they're like gonna fucking ignore his leadership. Um. Anyways, almost immediately after entering her house, Ashley gets the sickness, and they're
Oh,
like trying to get her out. They're like, "We can save her, right?" Sick Ashley sneezes on Candace.
wow.
Uh-huh. Candace seems to have OCD tendencies, and an issue where she will like completely tune out, and then come back into the world, um, like hours later,
That's so neat for this.
right? So, uh, Bob is waiting for them at where they're camped out, and Bob is treating her like a wounded animal. That's like a whole thing. Um, to the male member of the crew, Evan. Evan is his name. Candace admits they're like they all. Bob grabbed a bunch of the other guys and they drove 2 cars back to Ashley's house to take care of Ashley with the three of them, um, Candace, Evan, and the other girl. Right? The other girl takes Bob inside. Bob's the one that drove their truck. Right? Takes Bob inside to show him Ashley, with the other guys. Right? So it's just Candace and Evan in the car together alone, and she admits she is pregnant to him, and he's all like, "Oh shit, okay." And she says she doesn't want Bob to know, because she knows Bob will make this a whole into her a whole entire like praise be it's a miracle type thing, and she doesn't want that, right? And
Yeah.
also she knows that they were planning to run away from Bob's crew and wants to go with them. And he's like, I don't even know if that will still happen because Ashley's fucking dead. Um, so Bob comes in and comes back to the car. They're talking, right? And they're like getting ready to leave, and she's like, "Wait a second, where's the other girl?" At which point he's like, "Listen, it was an accident. She jumped in front of the bullet."
What?
So he killed Ashley and the other girl too.
These
Um,
are never what? These don't.
yep. She's obviously like a bitch. What the fuck? And Evan's like very quickly like, "Girl, shut the fuck up. Calm down. You're pregnant. You don't want to like get into this, right?" Um. So eventually they finally arrive at this safe house, right? And it is a mall that Bob partially owns. Uh, Bob says Evan told him about the pregnancy and locks her in an old store because she's a danger to herself until she gives birth.
Hear me out. If someone did that to me, I would show them what being a danger to yourself looks like. But what do I know?
See, this is why I think you'd really like this. I think you and Candace would get along. He acts like
Um,
he's doing
okay,
her a favor because they'll quote unquote guard her, as he's literally imprisoning her, and she uses the word imprisoning. He's like, it's not imprisonment, and he's literally there's it's like those storefronts in malls where like you pull the grate down and it's like bars. So it's literal. She's barred into a yeah. Um.
it sounds like when you're forcibly institutionalized as a teenager. I'm so fine.
Yeah. So now she's like, I gotta play mind games with him, right? I gotta do circles around this fucking idiot so that I can get out of here. Cause like I'm safe for now, but what happens when the baby's born, right? Um, Evan is not allowed to leave the mall either, which kind of makes me question if he actually um fucking told Bob or if like he was tortured or something for information and Bob got that information from Evan. Also, another thing, Evan, she knows about this. Evan has a shit ton of Xanax
Mm.
and has hinted at contemplating taking them all at once.
Oh,
Yeah. Um. So, whenever Evan's doing work around the ball, he avoids looking at Candace because of guilt, and she's like, "Good bitch." Um. So Candace is already having hallucinations and depression due to the isolation.
me too. Don't worry.
Meanwhile, Evan is trying to suck up to Bob, and 3 weeks pass. 3 weeks pass like this. She literally at one point he's like, "You're not imprisoned. We take you on walks."
No, that's literally what it is. You're not locked in this building where you have zero privacy all day long. We take you on walks. We let you go outside in a fenced area.
Yep.
You're fine.
If she has to go to a bathroom, she has regulated bathroom breaks where one of the women comes and takes her out to go to the bathroom, which I argue is probably bad for the baby. Because if you're holding it in for that long, that may cause bladder issues, which may harm the baby. But you know what do I know? Hey, why did you send me a vagina mirror?
Please leave that in.
I'm, honestly, I'm going to. That's very fucking funny. Oh my god.
Listen, 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 listen.
I'm not listening. Anyways, it's past 3 weeks have passed like this, and Evan tries to take the keys from Bob at one point. She like witnesses it because it's like it's an open grate. It's like she can see through the grates, right? She can see everything. Um, Rachel is the one who takes her on bathroom breaks, and tries to sneak Candace things during those bathroom breaks. She's not allowed to quote unquote talk to Candace. That's questionable. Um,
More than
right? Like,
questionable. I
why
think
does
more than
nobody question this? I don't know. But she tries to sneak her things like Pop Tarts and whatnot, right? Um,
Pop. Hell yeah. That's what
Candace
pregnant women want. Pop tarts.
Candace believes the baby is a girl and names her Luna. I think at this point she's like 6 months pregnant. She's like on the verge of entering her third trimester, I think. Um, Bob allows Candace to go to a morning meeting. This is like a big deal, right? Because she has not been for basically a month. She's not been allowed to leave this room basically, um, because of the Ashley thing, right? Um, she makes a joke to Rachel about it being Christmas already, which is how she learns Christmas has already passed and they celebrated without her.
That's so fucked up.
Uh-huh.
That is so fucked up. Like, it's not even
Bob's
like creepy, but that's so fucked up.
Bob's allowing her to rejoin the group one privilege at a time. I
Mom, go fuck yourself.
I wrote, "Can he die, please?" Cough, cough. He does die. Um.
Good.
So then one of the so Evan's not at the meeting yet, and he's like, "Can somebody go get fucking Evan, please?" I think his name's like Tom, something like Todd. That's his name, Todd, who is basically Bob's second. And so Todd goes to get Evan, and then comes running back because um Evan died, and she uh assumes that it was Xanax. That's basically what they guess. They don't know that it was by choice, but they think there was an overdose that happened, right? And she knows that he took all the Xanax, which is very funny because when she was first locked up, she did try to get him to give her all the Xanax to take. Anyways, you may be like, what are they gonna do with the body? So they just lay Evan's body outside in the snow. And Rachel's all like, "Don't worry, it's only temporary. We'll bury him when the ground warms up." And Candace is there like, "Uh huh, sure, Jan." Um,
I agree.
Basically playing mind games with all these people, right? This is another reason why you should actually read the book because Candace's mind is very interesting to read. She hallucinates her mother telling her to escape ASAP because it'll be harder with the baby once the baby's born, right? It's basically a lot of like every night her mother is telling her what to do, uh, like telling her to do
It's like who's
yoga every day so that
oh my
she can stay loose and limber and whatnot, and for when she has to run, uh, and be like, okay, you gotta do this now, you gotta get the fuck out, and like, uh, going through a bunch of escape options in her head, with her mother telling her which ones are good, which ones are bad, right? Um, she has Rachel tell Bob there's something wrong with the baby. Uh, but he doesn't check on her until everyone is asleep, and that's not suspicious. That's not weird. Um, the way he argues she's not in prison by explaining she gets daily walks and they feed her. And I wrote, and I quote, like a prison or a dog.
Yeah, my first thought was like a dog.
Yacht. Um, But she lets it pass because she's trying to trick Bob into letting her out, saying she's sickly from her mental health, and that's not good for the miracle baby. Um, Part of So is telling her story so far, aka up until this point, everything that I've told you is her explaining her whole entire past to him up until
Hmm.
she met him, right? And everything up until them getting to this mall. That, yeah, it's her retelling everything, and more time has passed. I think at this point she's like 7 months pregnant, maybe 8, right? Um, I not to quote me. Does that mean she told him about Johnny Schwarzenegger dick pounding into her?
Oh my god.
Because that is literally she said like when we read it, she's talked about Johnny Schwarzenegger dick pounding into her, and so I'm like, are those exact like what we're reading? Are those the exact words she used when telling him? Because did she explain
Oh,
Schwarzenegger dick to this man? I'm
I hope
asking a serious fucking question.
I really hope not. For my
Bob
mental. Oh my lord.
Bob has her pray that her baby turns out okay, despite her devious ways. He's like, you have to pray despite your devious ways. This baby is okay. And she's like, sure, Jam. Um, she overhears Todd, being like, hey, I have to take a car out because Bob has all the keys to all the cars and all the rooms and all that stuff, on a keychain at his waist, right? And Todd needs to take a car out for looting. Um, And the thing about Bob is that he usually sleeps during the day, right? So Todd's all like, hey, can I take out a car? And Bob's like, yes, here you go. Here's the car keys. Um, and Todd's like, yeah, cool, thanks. We're going far away, so by the time we get back, you'll probably be asleep. So I'll just leave it outside your cell, outside your room, right? So she hears all this because these idiots fucking dumb as fuck. They don't think she's like it's in the room with her is when they're having this conversation, and they're not whispering or anything. These fucking idiots. Um. So
Yeah.
in the time it's taken her to tell most of the story, right? Candace has now free roam of most of the mall. Um, and her mom hallucinations helps her plan her escape with the car keys. When Todd returns, basically her mom's like, "You gotta do it now. This is like probably your last opportunity before the baby's born, and when the baby's born, it's gonna be much harder, even if he lets you even out of the room ever fucking again, right? All this stuff." Um, and so basically the plan is say that she's going on a walk, she can't sleep, and baby. Um, and if anyone catches her just walking around in the hallways, and I happen to walk by Bob's room and pick up the key, and then calmly go outside and take the car. Right? That is the plan. Um, she goes to do that and sees Bob walking around, and she's like, "Oh fuck." There's like a thing where Bob like walks the whole entire mall every night while everybody's sleeping over and over and over again. Um, it seems to be like an OCD thing as well, right? Um, and so she sees him, and he's like, "Oh fuck." But guess what? Bob has the fucking sickness. He got the sickness. It's just him doing
Oh
his
my god.
everyday thing over and over and over again. And she's like, "Oh shit." So she kicks him down and steals the keys and runs. She basically beats his ass and steals the keys and runs. Todd comes up and is like, "Oh my god, we can talk about this. Like, don't do this." Not knowing that Bob has the sickness. Bob is out of it. Bob no longer here, right? Um, and so Todd's like, "Hey, we can
Not
like
the
make a deal,
accent. I'm
stop this.
sorry.
You can like don't make it worse for yourself, right?" And so she's like, "Don't follow me." Takes the keys and runs. And so when Todd goes to help Bob, oh no, can't help Bob because Bob's fucking
Oh,
got the sickness. You gotta shoot him.
whatever could have happened? How did? Oh, what?
So she continues to drive until she ends up in Chicago, which makes her laugh because Chicago is where Johnny like one of the stories we hear from Johnny about before moving to New York City, he moved to Chicago right after he turned 18, because he wanted to live in a city, and then he moved into New York City because he wanted to be in like an actual big city, and whatnot. So she remembers that Johnny used to be here, and she's like, okay, the chance of him actually being here again and alive, very low. But at least some memory of him will be here, right? In just like the ground. But also remembers the first time she went to America, her mother planned for them to move to Chicago. So she also has history with Chicago. So it's like a memory of these two people who were really important to her, are both in this place. And then the car breaks down right before getting to a bridge that goes further into the city. And so she's like, cool, this is where I'm staying. Gets out of the car and starts walking to the other side of the bridge. The end.
The end?
The end.
That's it?
That's it.
Completely?
Yep.
I'm sorry. I feel like we're missing some things, but okay.
Why did you penis door handle?
No, I saw that right after you asked. Did she tell Bob about it? I was like, oh my god. Listen, I don't know what happened on my explore feed. I really don't.
But yeah, that's why I thought it was gonna be a short episode because basically nothing happens. Like, is there more in-depth explanations of like when her family first moved to America? Yes. And like her job, yes, but like none of it was important for the quote unquote plot. Um,
My question is, why
so
is it called Severance?
I don't know. Severance, the definition, noun, action of ending a connection or relationship. So
Uh
maybe
huh.
it's the severance of her and her past life. I don't know.
That
I
makes sense.
I don't know. The book was fine. If you are a person who likes more character-based books, slice of life type stuff, and dystopians, I think you'd really like it.
I'm gonna describe half of that as slice of life, but okay.
That's because I only talked about the actual plot, not the actual slice of life stuff. But yeah, that's book. I told you it was gonna be a short episode.
Good. Maybe someone will listen to it, even though we're boring in this episode. I'm boring.
It's really funny because I also read it during my 24-hour reading vlog. Spoiler alert for that. That comes out in September. I think the week after your birth. Um, right? And I literally in the vlog, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to say about this book. I talk like 5 minutes about this book total. I'm like, I don't know what to say. It's a book. I read it.
You know,
It
you keep calling
exists.
my birth or like before or after my birth, and it just sounds like I'm being birthed again. So like, am I just being reborn on my 21st birthday?
Yeah.
So telling me
Yep.
my mother's probably gonna force me to get drunk or
Ooh.
try to force me to drink, and I'll tell her to do something drastic.
We're gonna be on
So
call for most of the day. I'm gonna do this thing on your birthday. Ready? I'm gonna open up this document that I have. That
uh huh.
is my book, and I am
Oh,
going to write in it
what?
while I'm on call with you. That's our plan for your birthday. I hope you know this. I feel like I
What?
tell you this at least once a month. That's the plan for your birthday, because that's when
My
I'm
birthday
cat
is
sitting. So
Saturday too. And my mom will be like, let's party. I'm gonna be like, why would I ever want to get drunk? I don't need to become an
dude,
alcoholic.
literally, I feel like that's gonna be me because I'm gonna make a Shirley Temple because we have all the makings for Shirley Temple. That's 2 ingredients, but we rarely have soda in this house. Okay, and so I'm gonna make a Shirley Temple, and I know my mom's gonna be like, you could like have alcohol, and I'm like, yeah, I could add vodka to it, or I could just have a Shirley fucking Temple. Like, hear me out. I really like Shirley Temples. Okay, I'm very excited to have a Shirley Temple. I may make it actually once we're done
I've never
recording,
had a Shirley Temple.
so that I can drink it while watching House of the Dragon with friends.
Oh
I'm
my
almost caught up to where they are, so that I can watch it with them, an episode a
god.
night with them.
Oh my god.
That's why I'm watching it now. I was gonna wait until I was away on vacation, is when I was gonna catch up with the show, because then season two would be all out and all this stuff. But then
Girl,
people were like rewatching season one before they watched season two. By the time they finished rewatching season one, season two should be all out. And I'm like, oh, well, obviously I need to join in. These are the same people I watched Twilight with, so
I can't believe you watched Twilight without
I know, right? It was very funny because I just sent a lot of daddy gifts every time Charlie was on screen. And I was like,
it.
they were all like, wait a second, you were drunk then? I was like, you really think I would send so many daddy gifts about Charlie Swan if I wasn't drunk? Like, yes, I made myself a martini to watch Twilight.
A fucking martini?
I like martinis.
You are so
I also like whiskey sours and wine.
that's gay. And you're old.
I mean, I am 4 years older than you.
Ah, you're older than my fucking brother. Like, that's crazy. I
That's
think
weird.
about that sometimes.
That's so weird. It's funny because Bestie's older than me.
You know what? I'm older than all my other friends besides one of them. And not like you. Like, you and one of my other friends are older than me, then I'm older than all my other friends, especially because my birthday was after the cutoff in school. So I
Mm-hmm.
was always a year ahead of everybody. I mean, a year older than everybody. So
Yep.
I've always been older than everybody.
That's
Maybe that's why
similar
none of
thing
my
with
friendships
Bestie,
ever
because
worked out.
Bestie's birthday is exactly 1 month after yours. So a similar thing where while we were technically the same class and whatnot, right? Um, she's a year older than me. She's actually like 8 months older than me, but or seven. I think seven. Yeah, seven. Um, but yeah, no. Anyways, that's this book. You got any other thoughts? Are you gonna read it yourself?
I don't know if I'm gonna read it. No other thought.
I love that for you. Ow. I was gonna ask what your favorite color is, but I know the answer.
Do you? What is it? Huh?
Green.
Hell yeah.
You're
My mom
green,
said my
and
favorite
Bestie's
color until
purple.
like 3 years ago.
Dude, it's so easy to remember now because Bestie's favorite color is also my mom's favorite color, and then Bestie's birthday is exactly 1 month after your birthday. And I remember your birthday because the first year we were friends, your birthday was on the day my dog had her vet appointment.
Oh my god.
So my dog
What's
got a dog toy at post vet appointment for your birth.
what's Pearl's favorite color?
Uh, Teal.
Okay.
She always tells me this, and I'm like, I didn't know teal was a real color until like a year ago. And she's like, what did you think my favorite color was like? Something that doesn't exist? I was like, I don't know. I'm fucking colorblind. I love when they try to explain to me the color wheel. I'm like, yeah, I get the premise of the color wheel. It doesn't help the fact that I can't fucking see it if I under like. You can tell me red's over there all you want. Doesn't mean I can fucking see it.
No, because when my hair is red, what does it look like to you? I just thought about that. No, you'll never see the full glory of me with red hair. Oh my lord.
um, you know, so that's fun. Um,
You should invest in those colorblind glasses for a day just so you can see me in full glory with my red hair.
Listen, I should invest with those colorblind glasses for a day just so I can see me when I dye my hair red.
That's a good point.
Though I
We
haven't
could we
done it in 3 years. Yeah, three
we
years
we could
next
see
month.
our red hair in all our glory together.
Oh, of
How does
course.
that sound?
Oh, I forgot my fun fact could have been about Hollow Taco, the nail polish.
I think it's fish but I don't own any hollow taco.
I have almost the whole entire rainbow collection, except the orange and the green.
Fish
Um, because of course it was like June, the first year they did a whole entire rainbow collection, and so I bought all of them. The whole collection was sold out, but you could buy them individually. But orange was sold out, and I didn't want green. This is before we were friends. Because if it was now, I would have bought it. And then I bought Solar Unicorn Skin, the base coat, long lasting base coat that I never use, and Indigo Away.
I think it's crazy that orange is sold out because I feel like a lot of people hate on orange, and I don't know why. Orange is a perfectly fine color when used in the correct context, aka the lesbian flag.
See, it's really funny because orange looks yellow to me.
Well, it still looks like a sunset because you know everybody calls a lesbian flag the sunset flag, so it still looks like a sunset to you. So whatever.
That I always wondered why they call it.
Because it's orange, white, and pink.
Uh-huh. I'm red tone colorblind. I can't see two of those.
Well, just imagine it.
Listen, mine's not
Just.
much better. Mine's blue, pink, and purple. I can see one of those fucking colors.
Actually, you can see two of the colors, or at least one color in the lesbian flag, because you can see white.
That's what I'm saying. I can see white. Yeah, no.
Oh my god.
I can sometimes, like some shades of pink, I can see. It's the issue that's the orange and the lesbian and purple and the bi flag that I can't fucking see.
I think it's so sad that you're colorblind. Like, that's kind of flower phobic if you ask me, considering
The same.
famous. That, that's, that's, that's flower phobic if I ever heard anything flower phobic.
Um, alright. Do you have anything else to say?
No.
Thank you.